the black people, the less well off as slow as possible. I mean, this is Red Cross is doing everything they can. We already realize a lot of the people that could help are at war right now, fighting another way, and they've given them permission to go down and shoot us. George Bush doesn't care about black people. Please call.
Yeah, neighborhood Nick Bustle. Giving a shout out right now to SPR in the streets. Spotter Low, y'all already know what it is. Source neighborhood Nick Bustle. Big shout out to SPR, Spotter Low. You know, I'm in the black box. Had to come through, tap in, show love one time. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all subscribe. Stay tuned. All that.
Y'all see the title. Can't believe it's been that much time. That's crazy. I can remember shortly after Katrina being in Atlanta, and I was at a sports bar, and it was like a Falcons versus the Saints game, and the sports bar was all black, and it was like down there 50-50 Falcons fans and 50-50 Saints fans, people from Atlanta that had just recently migrated because of Katrina, and I mean people from man, where Katrina happened at. People from where Katrina was happening at St. Louis migrated recently to Atlanta because of the devastation. And I really fell in love with black people this day because, man, it was so much fired up energy in this sports bar, so much tension. We was just driving and randomly stopped in here to get something to eat on a Sunday. Didn't even realize we got there right before the game started. Everybody, I'm talking about everybody had on team memorabilia. The sports bar had Saints and Falcons stuff up to show the rivalry. People was meddling with strangers. Like, I saw like the Saints score and the Falcons fans would get up and go empty the whole napkins dispenser on them. And they just had a ball. They had a ball in that thing. And I said, damn, they was drunk. They was knocking down pitchers of beer. And it still was no bullshit. And I just enjoyed that so much. And here it is 20 years later. And I could just tell from the top, the thumbnail that they had and the title, I assume things are not as they should be. So with no further ado, let's see what the devastation of Katrina has been up to.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. I'm Narmeen Sheikh in New York with Amy Goodman in Telluride, Colorado. We're continuing our coverage of the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, the 2005 storm that devastated the Gulf Coast, killing more than 1,800 people and forcing over 1 million people to evacuate.
We're joined now in...
A large portion of that million evacuated and migrated to Atlanta. Now, I think a nice portion of them was right there in that sports bar that day.
New Orleans by independent journalist Jordan Flaherty, who was in New Orleans when the hurricane hit, returned to the city soon after, being evacuated to help with relief efforts and to report on what was happening in the streets, particularly to the poor black communities that were most affected by the...
This how Kanye became a hero amongst black people, because he went on one, I think it was CNN at this time, and said, George Bush don't like black people. And that's all it took. We was fired up. He's our leader.
The hurricane. He's won awards for his reporting on people left behind in the New Orleans City Jail after the hurricane, and is the author of Floodlines, Community and Resistance from Katrina.
Damn me, I'm steady saying the Saints, and I say St. Louis. New Orleans, my bad, y'all.
To the Gina 6. He's joined us many times over the years. I was just with you, Jordan, in New Orleans at Netroots Nation, where you moderate a panel on Hurricane Katrina 20 years later. Can you speak now about the aftermath? Talk about what was happening then, from the complete lack of FEMA preparedness or the city's preparedness to climate change, to what happened to this population where more than, well...
Throw climate change in there and try to blame Mother Nature for some of the lack of response, I guess.
close to 2,000 people died and 100,000 were evacuated.
Thank you, Amy. And sitting here in this chair, I think about all the people that aren't in this chair. As you say, the people that were displaced, the people that were killed. New Orleans right now has a population of about 360,000. Pre-Katrina, it was about 480,000. And most of that is Black residents. The city has about 120,000 fewer Black residents than it did pre-Katrina. And that period right after the storm, it feels a lot like right now, the way right now we're feeling attacks on everything, on democracy, on the...
A lot of people think 20, 30 years in the future, they're going to declassify files and find out that HARP was utilized to get rid of that Black community.
Social safety net. That's how it felt after Katrina. We're facing the issues people face everywhere: housing, education, criminal justice, but it was like on hyperspeed. Overnight, you had 80% of the city's housing, unlivable. You had the entire public housing infrastructure shut down. Almost all the public housing was shut down, even that was undamaged. You had our free city hospital was closed down. The entire staff of the school system was fired.
Am I detecting high levels of estrogen in his voice? Y'all let me know.
Overnight, 7,500 teachers, the largest union in the city, that union representing the teachers, ceased to be recognized. The schools were moved from control of the school board, so under electoral control, to a mostly charter system. You had the governor say, I'm sending in National Guard troops. They're locked and loaded. They've been trained to shoot to kill, and I expect they will. And the voices of especially Black New Orleanians were not heard. I know that you've lifted up voices like Norris Henderson, Monique Harden, Tracy Washington, Sonny Patterson, people that were on the front lines of this struggle, artists, organizers, scholars, incredible landscape of people fighting for the city. And people won real victories in that struggle. And, it's hard living in the city, but I've learned so much from the grassroots organizers on the front line that were fighting for justice for this city.
And Jordan, could you talk about what happened with the the federal funding that was given to New Orleans in the aftermath of Katrina, more than $140 billion, which is the largest post-disaster.
Damn, that's a lot of money. They didn't rebuild with $140 billion? They supposed to be booming out there in New Orleans right now.
Disaster domestic recovery effort in U.S. history. What happened to that funding?
It felt in that period as if like the sky was filled with money. As you say, all this money that came from the government and also from people that were donating. It was like it flew over our heads and then got redirected. So we didn't actually get to, the people most in need didn't actually receive it. So much of that money went to the Bush cronies like Kellogg, Brown and Root and Halliburton. Of the 25 nonprofits that received the most money for Gulf Coast aid, half of them were based outside of the Gulf Coast. There was all of people giving money, the government giving money. If you look at the Louisiana Road Home Program, which was state administered and federally funded, one of the biggest sources of funding, it just went to homeowners, which were certainly in need, but what about renters? What about the homeless? And even among homeowners, white homeowners got 35% more aid on average than Black homeowners. So the people most in need, the people that were...
Anybody shocked by that? Of course not.
Most highly victimized, the neighborhoods that were most in need, received the least aid. And much of that aid that was allocated...
That's why we need some wealth that is ours, because I ain't gonna lie. Disaster come, I have resources, melanated individuals will be primary to me. I just can't, it's a natural thing to help your own first, I believe.
It took years to come through, some of it through mismanagement, other reasons. Some of that money still has not come.
The criminalization of storm survivors. On the one hand, they're left to drown. 1,800 people died in Hurricane Katrina. When did the federal authorities come out? How were the people who were so desperate as thousands went into the convention center, into the Superdome, how were they seen? We just saw excerpts of our coverage where people were talking about black people described as looters, white people described as desperately trying to find food for their families.
Welcome to America. This is what they think about you.
The National Guard coming out, being told to shoot to kill. Describe that whole scene, including the Danziger Bridge, that famous incident attack by police.
Danziger Bridge, it's hard to even talk about. You know, these police came rolling up to a group of unarmed civilians. We found out later that the police thought that they were coming on to another scene. And they just started shooting to kill. James Brissett, 17 years old, killed by police. Ronald Madison, mentally challenged man, killed. Others that were there wounded. The police just went up, open fire.
Wow, that story didn't get a lot of coverage. I don't remember that report. That's deep. Rest in peace to them brothers.
And it was years before that story was even told by most of the media. It was mostly ignored, and when it was ignored, and when it wasn't ignored, they just told the police's end of the story. It was finally in 2008 that we really had some federal investigations of police violence in that period after the storm. But for years, our media failed to investigate, and historically, New Orleans.
Yeah, I'm convinced he does not like women.
Media has failed to investigate issues in the black community, issues of police violence. The New Orleans Times-Picayune, what was once our daily paper here, did not cover these stories, did not care about these stories. We saw it over and over and over again. Many of the people working in that paper were closer to police than they were to community members. One photographer testified that he knew things about police behavior that he didn't report at the time. They did not do their responsibility to tell the story. And as I said before, the voices of Black New Orleanians were not heard. The people who created the culture that we feel in this whole world, the music of New Orleans, the culture, they're still living here. Their voices are not heard. People are working for minimum wage jobs or less. They are living in a city with poor infrastructure. You know that if you live here, you will live in an amazing place, but also you will probably die sooner. You'll probably make less money. You'll probably have less educational opportunities. Several years ago, it was reported that one of the zip codes in New Orleans had a life expectancy of 55 years. We live right near Cancer Alley, where the chemical processing plants cause high cancer rates, especially in that area, and also right near here. Those same oil and gas companies are responsible for coastal erosion. We're losing, for years it's been estimated, about a football field of land every 45 minutes, this coastal erosion, much of that caused by the oil.
Now, if that's the case, there should be no more land left. That's 100 yards all day, every day. That's crazy. That's a lot of land.
Oil and gas pipelines that bring the salt water into the freshwater marshes. That makes us more vulnerable to hurricanes. Of course, climate change makes us more vulnerable. And this current administration is doing everything to make us more vulnerable, including, as you've recently reported, gutting FEMA once again.
And talk about the significance of that, Jordan. I mean, as Malik Rahim, who Amy Goodman spoke to, as he said, and you've just repeated, that something like Katrina could happen very easily again. And specifically these cuts to FEMA, because poor, climate-vulnerable states like Louisiana received the most direct assistance from FEMA between January 2015, that is, so almost 10 years after Hurricane Katrina, between January 2015 and April 2024. So what will this mean for the city and for the state?
They shouldn't have had that money to send to Ukraine. They should have still been spending money in New Orleans. That's crazy.
It's devastating. It's devastating. The support for the oil and gas industry, the heightened climate change, hurricanes getting bigger, hurricanes getting stronger, less land to protect us in the city, less infrastructure to support us, less of a social safety net, less medical, a huge increase in policing. You know, one of the victories that organizers won here after Hurricane Katrina was shrinking the size of the city jail, was getting oversight over, federal oversight over the police department, also an independent police monitor, federal oversight over the jail. All of those kind of things are going out the window. Our new governor is pushing to undo decades of reform of policing, of the prison industrial complex in the state, more people getting locked up, more people being criminalized, less ways to afford to live in this city, in this country.
Jordan, before we go, I'm just interrupting because we have less than a minute. Talk about the prisoners, people held in the parish jails, what they faced at that time, often just awaiting trial, stuck in the dark, in the filth.
Right. We're talking about many people who had just been arrested a day or two before for some minor charge like public drunkenness. The city jail before Katrina was the largest city jail in the country, 7,000 people being held there. The New Orleans police were arresting 60,000 people every year. That's in a city of less than 500,000 people. Do the math on that. You had 95% of those arrested were arrested for nonviolent offenses. When the floodwaters were rising, people were left to die. When they finally were rescued, they were shipped to maximum security prisons around the state, like Angola State Prison. Many people were lost in the system for months. I remember nearly a year later, advocates found a woman who had been lost in the system. She didn't even know why she'd been arrested.
Jordan, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there, but we will continue covering the 20-year anniversary of her.
Yesterday was bullshit, but today gonna be a good day. Louisiana 3P, yeah, the 3P. I'm talking about the hood way, like when the Lakers got the 3P, I have to say it was a good day. Hey now, say now, I woke up feeling like it was my birthday. Checks coming in like the first day. I said checks coming in like the first day. Niggas trying to knock me off my pivot, I get ignorant, live it. Give it to you in the worst way, I give it how I live it. Let the church say amen. I was trying to chase a little 2K. I was trying to chase a little 2 bands, water and pineapple juice. Hold the deuce, I'm zeroed in. Shoot the beak off a bird. Toucan Sam, do you know who I am? It's Noonie. They make business, you goofy. See this big gold ring, if I mink me. You get loopy, crashing shit, I think I'm boosty. Debo, but this ain't no movie. This ain't 2B, this ain't no movie. Yesterday was bullshit, but today gonna be a good day. Louisiana 3Ps, yeah, the 3Ps. I'm talking about the hood way, like when the Lakers got the 3P, Have to say it was a good day. Hey now, say now, I woke up feeling like it was my birthday. Checks coming in like the first day. I said checks coming in like the first day. Really though, I read the back of my cereal box. I still keep a dub in my sock. But he mad, you lucky I'm not. I'm about to blow, I'm about to pop. Shout out to the low, he passed me the rock. Hopped off the post, threw it in sport, ooh wee. Pocket stuff like a loose leaf. Pick and roll, we ain't talking about sushi. It's Noonie and the green is for blue cheese. I'm about to blow, I'm about to pop. Shout out to the low, he passed me the rock. I'm about to blow, I'm about to pop. Shout out to the low, he passed me the rock.
The Africans and the American Negroes have turned out to be an extraordinarily gifted people. Unquestionably, I am an American, born there. My father slaved there. Upon the backs of my people was developed the primary wealth of America, the primary wealth. You have to have accumulated wealth to start, you know, to build. You did it another way here in Australia. You had to build your accumulated wealth too. You just came and took it. You know what I mean? And that's what they did in most of the countries. That's what you Europeans did. You just took it. It's a lot of America that belongs to me yet. You understand? I'm proud for being African. Now, in our school books, they tried to tell me that all Africans were savages, till I got to London and found most of the Africans I knew were going to Oxford and Cambridge and doing very well. And somewhere, it was wonderful to find about the colored peoples of the world that they were very advanced. So I would say today that I'm an American who is infinitely prouder to be...
Yeah, neighborhood that bustin'. Giving a shout out right now to SPR in the streets. Spotter Low, y'all already know what it is. Sloss neighborhood that bustin'. Big shout out to SPR, Spotter Low. You know I'm in the black box, had to come through, tap in, show love one time. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all subscribe. Stay tuned, all that.